It's time for Football at 4 with Geoff Mosher.
I think our track record in the last 20 years, how many NFC East titles, playoff appearances, and appearances in the NFC Championship game, those are some of the metrics I look at, and I'll compare our record with almost anybody.
Powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Now, live from inside the Matt Black Kia Studios, this is Football at 4.
All right, the often imitated but never duplicated Football at 4. I know everybody's trying, but they cannot do what we do every day, 4 o'clock, talking football all year long, 365. Geoff Mosher, Inside the Birds. Look at you, got a collared shirt on there, man. Little button up.
I like to dress up on draft week. I know how important it is.
Draft week dress up.
That's right.
Draft week dress up. All right. It is draft week. So is the BS meter in full force this week?
For who? Me or NFL teams? Or both?
Well, this is the week. I mean, you're a reporter. This is the week where you might have somebody tell you something knowing that it's not true, but they tell you, and it's like your obligation to report it.
Sure. It's also along those lines the week where, you know, a conversation becomes bigger than what it ordinarily would be. For example, you'll see a lot of reports. Teams are looking to trade down. They're having conversations with so-and-so and so-and-so, or multiple conversations, just because a team calls up and says, hey, Panthers, you're drafting 8. What would it take for me to get up there? Just curious. Oh, well, it'll take this, that, and the other. All right, that turns into, oh, yeah, we're getting calls, a lot of interest. You know what I mean? Exploratory phone calls become larger than life and bigger than what they are. I mean, honestly, if you go and see the reports over the last, I'd say 5 or 6 days, you would imagine that anybody from 7 to 13 or 14 would be willing to trade down or are going to trade down.
Yeah.
Which, of course, it's like nobody wants these players in the top 15.
Right. Well, I mean, I guess there are a lot of Howie Rosemans out there where flexibility, optionality, get me more picks, drop me down. I like a guy at 15 that I can get at 10 or that it's too high. You know, like sometimes you have that element of it where there are certain GMs who do like to wheel and deal because they like to have more flexibility and the options of doing more. And Roseman's in an interesting spot. He already likes to trade. You know, as it was kind of reported today, Todd McShay said the Eagles are the wild card. Why is that? Well, they have 11 picks. And we know Roseman's history. I mean, he likes to move.
He does like to move. I think he has executed more draft day trades in his time at GM than anybody else in that time frame. So he does love to move and shake. They have 11 picks. I would be shocked and stunned if the Eagles came out of the 3-day draft with 11 players. That's just, first of all, it's kind of ridiculous to do that. I mean, I know some people think, well, the more picks you make, it's like, you know, it's like a batting average. You get a couple more hits or at least a chance to get a couple more hits. And there's some legitimacy to that. They should at least make 8 picks. But, you know, the number of picks they have in the 6th and 7th round, which the chances of making the 53-man roster for those guys is low to begin with, you should use those to be able to leverage to move up if you can.
Yeah, and I know that I think people have been mentioning that around the 5th round is where there's a drop-off, and a lot of it has to do, Geoff, with a lot of the seniors decided to reclassify back as seniors again this year. So you had over 1,000 players that could have been drafted now are going back to college, which means the drop-off in talent in this particular draft class is going to be steep.
Yeah, I've heard it, you know, posited that teams would be smart to trade for future picks this year, you know, move down and or move up, move down. And you know, if you get a 2022 pick, you're in good position because theoretically there should be somewhat more normalcy with college football next fall, we think. I mean, we really don't know, but it's been tough for teams this year because of the no combine. The medicals have been really difficult to find out about without as much FaceTime with guys and doctor time and things like that. So I could understand some teams being reluctant about this year's crop of from every position as opposed to what they might be able to get next year from an information standpoint.
All right, let's get a couple questions in for Geoff. We'll kind of mix questions in. We'll go back and forth. We have the draft. Everybody's got questions. Muhammad wants to know, Geoff, what are the chances the Eagles use Ertz to trade back into the first along with that 12th pick. So let's kind of talk about Ertz, because there was a report about 3 weeks ago that it was like, any day now, imminent, and now he's still here. Now it's Thursday. What are we hearing about Ertz?
Well, I mean, let's be realistic about what kind of value Zach Ertz can get you in return. I mean, if he was able to get you a third or a fourth, he probably would have been traded already. I don't know if that he has that value right now. So if you're using him to trade back in the first round, it's not just I'll give you my second round pick and Zach Ertz to get into the first round, because that's a second and a fifth theoretically, or something like that. So yes, do I think Zach Ertz has a very good chance to be traded over the 3-day weekend or event? Yes. Do I think it's to use to get into the first round? Doubt it. We'll see what happens. I would think it's probably more of a day 2, day 3 type of thing, and we'll see. But I don't think Zach Ertz enough is going to be able to be packaged with one specific pick to be able to get you into the first round.
Yeah, one team that keeps coming up is Buffalo. They're deep in the first round. Could you move yourself just from 37 to, say, back in the 30 with Ertz, like as hey, we'll give you Ertz as the kicker?
You're saying moving from, if you're Buffalo the Eagles moving from 37, trying to get up to 30?
Correct.
Yeah, I don't know that the Zach Ertz alone is going to be able to do that. I mean, it's still going from the second round to the first round. So even though it's only a 7 slots, I'm not sure that that's enough to get it done.
All right, let's see. Frank wants to know, Jeff, what are your sources telling you? Do your sources tell you that the Eagles really want to move up? So do you think that inside that building they want to go from 12? Because there was a report over the weekend that suggested essentially if they were to move up, it would only be for Kyle Pitts or, I thought this was interesting, a quarterback.
Yeah, I don't think the Eagles want to move up, Frank and Mike. I mean, I think that ideally they'd like to sit there in 12 and be pretty firm that one of the cluster of prospects that they have, that one of them will be there. And when I say cluster of prospects, I'm talking about the names we've been talking about: Patrick Surtain or J.C. Horn, Rashawn Slater as an offensive lineman. I doubt Sewell will be there. Perhaps Jalen Waddle and of those 4. So you have to see how the board goes. I think 6, 7, and 8 become kind of a wild card for the Eagles, not really knowing where the Lions are going to go, not really knowing what the Panthers are going to do. Are they going to wind up trading down? Is New England going to trade up maybe for a quarterback in that spot ahead of Denver? And if so, that would push maybe a few prospects down that the Eagles have their eyes on. So I don't imagine that there would be. I mean, look, you never know, but I can't imagine there would be a trade that happens before the first round begins. Unless the Eagles have such great intel that they know they can't get their guy unless they move up.
All right, Jalen says, Mosher, last year, about a week before the draft, you and Adam heard Rieger could be the pick. Any intel or recent information, little breadcrumbs, any breadcrumbs that you have for the Eagles this year? I'm dying over here, he says.
Yeah, I mean, I think, listen, I'm not going to, no one's going to be shattered by this news, but obviously J.C. Horn and Patrick Surtain are not only needs, but fits and value, and they're at 12. I mean, it makes a lot of sense for them. I've said when they pick in the top 15, they tend to go offensive line, defensive line, or quarterback, but it doesn't appear that D-line or quarterback is going to be, for them at that point, meet the value. So I do think that it's been a lot. I've said before, it's been, my sense is that, they're not as reluctant to take a cornerback this year as they have been in the past this high. So I think you can laser focus on those 2 guys. And if one of them is there at 12, it's a pretty safe bet.
What if one of these 2 guys are there at 12? Justin Fields, Trey Lance. They both might be there. It started off they're going to be 4 in a row. Well, now there's another scenario that only 3 quarterbacks could get picked in the top 12. So if one of these 2 guys, Trey Lance or Justin Fields, happen to fall to 12, do the Eagles have to change their mind?
That's the big question, the $1 million question. It's a weird position. If Justin Fields is available at 12, it will definitely force me to adjust everything I thought I knew about the NFL draft. I got to be honest with you, because most of the people I speak to, and even the people who are reliable on TV, will say he's as projected to be as good as pretty much anybody who's going to go in the top 3 or maybe a slight bit below. And yet we know those guys get overdrafted anyway. You can make an argument that some of the guys go in the top 3 other than Trevor Lawrence might be getting overdrafted. So if Fields falls to 12, man, that's probably a scenario that I can't see happening, but I suppose it's possible. Now, a lot of people will say, well, the Eagles should then trade down with a team that wants a quarterback. But if you're a team like New England at 15 that wants that quarterback, do you really have to trade up at that point? If you don't think the Eagles are going to take it? Because after the Eagles, the next 2 teams I don't think are quarterback needy teams. I forget who's right after them. I think it's Minnesota and somebody else, right?
After who? Philly?
After Philly, yeah. It's going to be the Chargers at 13 and Minnesota at 14. I mean, you may have to worry that Minnesota might be looking.
Then New England.
And then New England. So if I'm the Patriots and I want Justin Fields, do I really think I have to make a deal with the Eagles at 12 to move up so that I get in front of Los Angeles that has Herbert and Minnesota that's got a lot of money right now invested in Kirk Cousins? Maybe Minnesota. You never know. But, I mean, that's a whole we'll have to see when they get there.
Gotcha.
But I feel like when the Eagles moved out of 6, Mike, they moved out of first-round quarterback territory.
I agree. I don't think they have any intention of although, again, they probably didn't think 12 would give them one. There might be one there, but not the one that they would be intrigued by. Maybe. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I just wonder, like, at this time next year or 2 years from now, if that were to happen and the Eagles pass on Justin Fields and things don't go well, are we going to be doing the whole, oh, man, Justin Fields, he's going to become the Justin Jefferson or the DK Metcalf of this year's, like we could have had Justin Fields.
Jeff Bone and Pookie wants to know, Jeff, what are your thoughts on the Eagles front 7? Do you obviously linebacker, D-line somewhere in this draft, but what is the state of the front 7 as currently constructed? It's a good question.
It is a good question. Now, am I answering Jeff Bone's questions or Pookie's question here? I
think Jeff and his wife both watch.
Okay, good. I'm happy to answer for both of them.
I'm not sure of that, but I see 2 people in the avatar there.
Yeah.
And by the way, I do know that Jeff, Bone, and Pookie are Eagles fans that watch the show from Los Angeles.
Oh, that's great. I love hearing that. Good. So I hope they're having a great time.
Well, we had a guy from New Zealand watching the other day.
Oh, really?
He was on at 6 o'clock in the morning over there and watched all 4 hours.
We're worldwide, Mike. It's a great thing. Technology is unbelievable. I do think the Eagles will be drafting linebackers. I don't think it'll be in round 1, and I'm not sure we'll see it in round 2. As far as defensive line, I think they'll be drafting defensive line, probably edge rusher at some point in the draft. I would think probably day 2, early day 3. Don't think it's going to be day 1 unless it's Kwity Paye because several of the guys that we've talked about are already off the board.
All right.
I'm sorry. And as for the current state, obviously they're a little long in the tooth on the D-line with Cox and Graham, but they do have Javon Hargrave, who they signed as a good, promising young player. Still have Josh Sweat, a great situational player for them. Derek Barnett has a chance to prove that, he should at least earn a contract. And again, they'll probably draft a few guys on the line. So it's still a pretty good, as far as talent-wise, defensive line, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, it's similar to the offensive line where they're good if they're healthy. They're older. If you have Lane Johnson and Brandon Brooks and Jason Kelsey, those guys are good. They got to stay healthy. Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave are good at the age that they're at. Can they give you 17 games now?
Exactly.
That's the rub. This text message came in. Said there have only been 2 wide receivers drafted in the first round the last 5 years that have made a Pro Bowl, Cooper and Jefferson. Don't draft a receiver in the first round. Would you subscribe to that and say if there's a receiver at 12, you would go get a corner that are harder to get?
Wait, is this 2 wide receivers drafted in the first round the last 5 years that have made a Pro Bowl as a rookie or at all?
It's a good point. I'm assuming he's saying at all or as we'll have to go back and look at that.
I'd have to go back and look at that. I don't think that that's listen,
as a rookie would be different than if you're just saying they're the only 2.
Right.
But I agree. Like, to me, get the corner at 12. You can get last year, some of the better receivers, T. Higgins, Claypool, they went in round 2. Metcalf, round 2. McLaurin, round 3. I feel like there's a better chance of finding a wideout at 37 than a corner.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably true. I don't like those kind of cherry pick statistics because, I mean, I would, sometimes you have to wonder who's the team drafting the wide receivers. Are they good at it? Are they bad at drafting overall? So I don't want to ever just limit a player. Like I wouldn't, if I were a top 5 team, I'd still take Jamar Chase and feel pretty good about that and not worry about those stats. But I think for the Eagles at 12, the value won't be, I mean, I know that Waddle and Devontae Smith have a chance to be there, but I do think that it's not where they value positionally. It's not going to be their pick there.
Yeah, this is funny because I guess Howie was asked about they have no Alabama players on the roster, and I said they did. Chase Warmack, and he stunk. There was a draft that in the Warmack draft, he went 10th. 9, 10, and 11 were all 3 Alabama players, and all 3 of them stunk.
That doesn't happen very. Was it D. Milner? Was he 9?
Yep, D. Milner, Chase Warmack, and
Chance Warmack, and 11. Would that be like Jonathan Cooper? I have no idea.
DJ Fluker.
Oh, Fluker, right.
So I said you could have 3 Alabama players on your roster, and they would all have stunk. So the point is, like Philip says, stay in the SEC on most picks. That will help you most of the time. But just get it. I hate when people say that, like, you don't have any Alabama players. Well, I did. He stunk. Find good players. I don't care where they went to school.
Now, interestingly, that goes along with my theory about, also evaluate the team that's doing the drafting. The Jets are the one that took team that took Milner 9th overall, and they have a history, at least back then when they were going through Idzik and McCagnon of not making very good picks. Who took Warmack 10th? Was that the Titans?
Tennessee.
Yeah, that was, and again, this is several years ago, so that was before that.
That was the Lane Johnson draft.
Yeah,
that was Eric Fisher, Luke Jokel, Lane Johnson.
Right.
Warmack.
That guy their GM got run out of time. I mean, he did a terrible job. The one before John Robinson took over, I can't remember his name.
Was that
the
Diamond?
one who drafted Mariota, I believe.
Was that Diamond?
No, I can see him, but I just can't. I can't picture it. And then who drafted Fluker at 11th overall?
I think that was Seattle.
Seattle, huh? That's surprising. They're usually pretty good, but they, obviously didn't.
Could be wrong, but I'm thinking Seattle. I was looking at that.
I thought it was Arizona because he's been traveled around. I forget who drafted Fluker. I'd have to go back and look.
He's been everywhere. Yeah, because
he really has.
Yeah, he's DJ Fluker. All right, here's another question for Moshe. Let's bring this up here. Let me. I got a little bit of a freeze situation. Here we go. Geoff Mosher, who do you like more, Patrick Surtain or Horn? I guess that's an interesting question because if you like Horn, you probably get him at 12. If you want Surtain, you have to move up. But do you like Horn better than Surtain?
Yeah, I don't pretend to be an expert on cornerback play. I try to rely on the information that I get from evaluators, and they're both very good. They're both a little bit different stylistically. I think if you want the technician, the guy with maybe a little bit higher level of football intelligence, you want Patrick Surtain. If you want the guy who's got the killer instinct and a little bit more twitchy from an athletic standpoint, you got J.C. Horn. That's J.C. Horn. Many people tell me that you don't lose with either one. Like it would be a very surprise if both were not great. The one thing about Surtain, though, that does give some cause for concern is, if he gets beat off the line of scrimmage, it's tougher for him to recover than it is for J.C. Horn, who's just a faster, more explosive athlete. But the one thing about J.C. Horn, Mike, is that he's grabby. He tends to be grabby and panic a little bit. So, every prospect has pros and cons, so I just gave it to you there. And I really think that I would say this, because I know how much the Eagles lately seem to value analytics, which tend to favor the physical specimens and the athletes, I feel like J.C. Horn is probably going to get a little bit of a nod higher than Surtain. I don't know that for a fact, but, that's how I would analyze the situation.
All right. Over on the text board, I think Micah Parsons is the best kept secret in the draft and could even go as high as 6 to Miami. That's from Matt Green. How about Sean Lee retiring today? Does that put Parsons in play for Dallas?
Yeah, I don't know because they still, Sean Lee was their third linebacker. He was only playing in base. I mean, they had Leighton Vander Esch. They drafted him in the first round, and they had Jalen Smith, who wound up being a pretty good player for them, got a big contract a couple of years ago. I think he probably didn't play his best football last year, and Vander Esch got hurt. And he has that history, I think, with the neck. But I just don't think that's the position they're going to look to upgrade more so than cornerback or D-end.
All right. I think we're out of time, unfortunately. We have a lot of questions we didn't get to.
That was fast.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people who have questions, and we're trying to get as many. Geoff will be back on Wednesday, and you can ask more questions then. What's this new nickname here? Geoff the Rock Mosher.
I've always, 20 pounds ago when I was in college. I could raise the eyebrow, and some people would say there was a time where I would get some comparisons facially to The Rock and Derek Jeter, but those were years and pounds ago, my friend.
Okay, well, he'll be back on Wednesday. Andrew's in tomorrow. The guys did their mock draft on the Inside the Birds podcast that dropped this morning. Andrew, Geoff, and Adam did the mock draft. That is today's version of Inside the Birds, the podcast. It dropped at 6 o'clock. So if you want to hear their mock draft, check that out this morning. Andrew will be on tomorrow. Geoff is back Wednesday. I just got an email from Adam. I don't know if he's switching this week or not, but he'll be on one of the days later on in the week, and we'll have it all right here, Football at 4. And then don't forget, as soon as the draft's over, we got all off-season. I don't know, are they doing OTAs? What's going on with that?
We'll see. I mean, I think there's a lot to be settled between now and then as far as how many players are going to be showing up and for what. So we'll see about that.
Real quick.
And don't forget also, myself, Adam Kaplan, and Greg Cosell, 5:30 to 7:30 Thursday night, our Inside the Draft preview. We'll be doing a 2-hour draft preview special. So a lot of intel.
I was just going to say, real quick, tell the people what the rest of the week looks like over on the Inside the Birds platform. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday draft. What do you got for the rest of all the way through? You have something going Friday too? Yeah,
well, we've got every day. Like tomorrow, instead of Q&A doing their own show, they're going to join Quentin Michael and Jason Avant will join me and Adam. We're going to do a little 45-minute roundtable type show or square screen show here on Zoom, kind of going through the draft, the state of the team. So that instead of Q&A in our live stream that we've been doing, we're just going to do that. So that'll be out probably Wednesday morning. We'll record it tomorrow. And then our pre-draft show, 2 hours, me, Adam Kaplan, Greg Cosell from Evil Genius Brew House in Fishtown. And we will do a live stream on draft night, Thursday night, after the pick is made, probably soon after. We'll dig in a little bit, then have it. And then Friday, we'll do another on our YouTube platform, another show, probably a live stream after the third round. Saturday, we'll recap it all with a show on our YouTube channel. And then Sunday, it's business as usual. The podcast will drop. We'll record the podcast Sunday night, and it'll drop 6 a.m. Monday.
All right,
we'll do a depth chart on that one. After the picks are made, you got to do a depth chart, Mike.
I am all for it, and I am all for Football at 4. By the way, Adam Kaplan will be on this Friday, and then following this week, he will be on Thursdays for the rest of the offseason. All right?
All right.
Geoff Mosher, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. All right, Mosher, I'll talk to you.
Take care, brother.